Welcome, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something we do every single day.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about asking questions.
Asking questions in English.
That's right.
We use them all the time, but how much do we really think about them?
Yeah, and this is going to be a particularly deep dive.
We've got two sources.
We do. We've got a really great in-depth guide that goes into a lot of the mechanics.
The nuts and bolts.
And then a comparative overview that kind of gives us a wider perspective on things.
Cool. So our mission is to help you understand how questions function in English. And I think, more importantly, how to use them strategically and powerfully.
Absolutely. Because it's one thing to just ask questions. We do it all the time. It's another to really understand how they work and how you can use them to your advantage.
Right. To get the information you need, to persuade, to build relationships, all sorts of stuff.
It's really fascinating how something we do so naturally can be so complex and nuanced.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. Okay, so first off, we've got the two basic types of questions. We've got the yes-no questions, and then we've got the why questions.
Right.
And we've all heard these before, right? Yes, no. Do you like pizza? Simple. Straightforward.
Easy peasy.
Now, why questions, those are the ones that start with who, what, where, when, why, how. They're the keys to unlocking a whole world of information, aren't they?
That's right.
Instead of just getting a simple yes or no, you get a much richer answer. So what kind of pizza do you like?
Yeah, that's a good example. You could get a one-word answer, but you could get a really fascinating one.
Absolutely. Okay, so now that we know the two main types of questions, let's talk about how to actually build these questions, because word order is key.
It is. It's like constructing a building. You can't just throw things together haphazardly.
Right.
You got to have that structure.
So with yes-no questions, our foundation, our structure is going to be auxiliary verb, subject, then main verb.
Right.
So, does he play football? Is our auxiliary verb, he, the subject, play our main verb?
And it's important to remember that that auxiliary verb's going to change depending on the tense of the sentence.
Right.
So if we were talking about the past, it'd be, did he play football?
Exactly. And just to make things a little more interesting, there's a bit of a twist here, right? When we're asking about the subject of the sentence, we don't actually need that auxiliary verb.
Right.
So we can just get straight to the point. Like, who broke the vase?
Exactly. We don't need to say, did who break the vase?
Right. It just doesn't sound natural, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so way questions. Those are built similarly, right? We just add the question word to the beginning of that basic structure.
Right. So where did they go? It follows that same pattern. Question word where plus auxiliary verb did, subject they, and main verb go.
Boom. So basically, once you understand these basic building blocks, you can create any question you need.
That's right.
But, each of those question words, they have their own sort of personality,
They do.
their own purpose. So let's explore those a little bit. What is our curious explorer?
Yeah.
Always asking about things. What is your favorite color?
Right. Or what is the meaning of life?
Yeah. Okay, now we've got where. That's our map-loving adventurer.
Right. Always focused on locations.
So where do you live?
Or where are we going?
Classic where question. Now we've got when, the timekeeper.
Obsessed with schedules.
Always want to know, when does the meeting start?
Right. When will you be back?
When is dinner? Okay, how about why? Why is our detective?
Always digging for reasons.
Getting to the bottom of things.
Yeah. They want to know, why are you late?
Why is the sky blue?
Why?
Yeah, they always got a why. Okay, who?
Yeah.
That's our social butterfly.
The people person.
All about relationships. Who is calling?
Who are you going to the party with?
Exactly. Right, how about which? Which is our decision maker?
Weighing the choices.
Which movie do you prefer?
Which one should I buy?
Which way should we go? Okay, and then finally we have how, the resourceful one. How is always figuring out the methods, the strategies.
Right. How do you get to school?
How does this work?
How do you do that?
So, mastering all these different question words is like having a set of specialized tools for gathering information.
It is. It really is. It's like having a whole toolbox and you know which tool to use for which situation.
Absolutely. But just when you thought we had all the bases covered, we got to throw in another curveball. Negative questions.
Oh, yeah.
These are the questions that throw a little surprise into the mix.
Yeah. Instead of just saying, do you like chocolate?
No.
You might say, don't you like chocolate? Or instead of, is it a beautiful day? You might say, isn't it a beautiful day?
And it kind of throws people off a little bit, but why do we use these negative questions? What's the point?
Well, they can express surprise, like, haven't you tried sushi before? You're assuming they have, but you're a little surprised that maybe they haven't. Or they can be used to confirm information that we think is true.
Yeah. Isn't she your teacher?
Right. So it's not just about the words themselves, it's also about the subtle intentions behind them.
And how they're delivered.
Exactly.
Speaking of delivery, let's talk about intonation for a moment. Because the way we say a question can actually change its meaning.
Right.
So with yes-no questions, we typically use a rising intonation at the end, almost like our voice is going up as we seek confirmation, "You're coming!"
Yeah.
But with why questions, we generally use a falling intonation as if we're expecting a more detailed response. What are you doing?
You can hear the difference, right? Just those little tonal shifts can completely change how a question is perceived.
Yeah, it can be the difference between sounding curious and sounding accusatory.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about some common pitfalls that people fall into. Even, seasoned English speakers sometimes stumble over these.
Yeah, it's easy to get tripped up. It is. So one of the most common mistakes is forgetting that auxiliary verb. So you might accidentally say, "where you live," instead of "where do you live?"
Right, or what's she doing instead of what is she doing. Again, word order is crucial.
So important. Those building blocks, you got to have them in place.
You do.
But here's the thing, guys. This isn't just about passing some grammar test, right?
Yeah.
This is about being able to use questions effectively in real-life conversations.
Right. It's about communicating clearly.
So our sources actually highlight some practical examples of this.
Yeah.
Imagine you're lost and you need directions. You'd ask, "where is the nearest bus stop?"
Right.
Or you're at a restaurant trying to decide what to order. You might ask, "what do you recommend?"
Right. Or what are you having?
Exactly. And let's not forget the simple power of small talk. Just a casual, "how was your weekend?"
Yeah. These are all ways that asking questions helps us get information, engage with others, and just navigate the world around us.
It goes way beyond just textbook grammar. So we've covered the basics of question types, how to structure them, common mistakes. Now we're going to get into the why behind the how.
Right. The strategic part.
That's right. So stick with us.
So we really want to start thinking about the purpose behind our questions. Like every question serves a specific goal.
Right.
Are you trying to, gather information? Or are you trying to clarify something that you're not really sure about?
Yeah.
Maybe you want to challenge an assumption
Oh, interesting.
or spark a debate
Okay.
or even just, connect with someone on a deeper level.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like we're
Yeah.
choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
So I've got my toolbox
Yeah.
full of all these different questions,
Yeah.
and I need to know which one to use when.
Exactly. And, if you imagine you're reading an article
Yeah.
about a new scientific discovery, the
Okay.
questions you're asking yourself as you're reading it
Are going to be very different
Yeah.
from the questions you might ask
Right.
if you were talking to a friend about their vacation.
Totally.
So in the first instance, you might be asking yourself questions about, like, the methodology or the implications of the findings.
Okay.
But if you're talking to your friend about their vacation,
Right.
you're probably asking them, like, what was your favorite part?
Right.
Or how did that make you feel?
Did you eat anything good?
Exactly. So the context and purpose of the conversation is really going to shape the types of questions we ask.
Right. So it's not just about knowing how to put the words in the right order.
Right.
It's also about understanding why we're asking those words in the first place.
Exactly. And being mindful, I think, as well,
Okay.
of the impact those questions are going to have
And the other person.
on the other person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because sometimes I get so focused on what I want to know
Yeah.
that I don't always think about how I'm coming across.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, think about it like this. If someone's just like firing all these closed-ended questions at you, it can feel less like a conversation and more like an interrogation.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And no one wants to be interrogated.
Exactly. It feels very one-sided.
Whereas if someone's asking, more open-ended questions that invite you to kind of like reflect and share,
Yeah.
it creates a much more kind of like welcoming and trusting environment.
Really?
So it's like finding that balance between being like assertive in your pursuit of knowledge, but also being respectful of the other person and their perspective.
I like that a lot.
And sometimes I think the most powerful questions are the ones we ask ourselves.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like self-reflection. It's crucial, right, for
Yeah.
personal growth.
Mhm.
And by asking ourselves like these tough questions, we can like challenge our assumptions.
Oh, right.
It can confront our biases and even like explore new possibilities that we hadn't considered before.
So it's like we're kind of holding up a mirror to
Yeah,
our own minds and taking a deep look at what we see.
exactly.
Like that.
And questions like, what are my core values?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind can be really like,
Powerful.
powerful and set us on a really interesting path.
And the cool thing is that those answers can change
Totally.
over time
Yeah.
as we grow and evolve.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of questions. They invite us to constantly kind of explore and evolve.
It's not a one and done.
No.
So it's not just about the grammar and the mechanics.
No.
It's really about recognizing the deeper power
Yeah.
of questions and how to use them
And how to use them effectively.
to learn and to connect and to grow.
It's about approaching the world
Mhm.
with this sense of curiosity and wonder
Yeah.
and never losing that desire
to learn.
to ask why.
And speaking of asking why, I think it's time we turn the tables a little bit. It's time for our listeners to get in on the action.
Yeah, we've given you all this awesome info about asking questions.
So now it's your turn to put it to work.
It is. Think about everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
Those different types of questions,
Mm-hmm.
their strengths, how they can be used.
Right.
And then ask yourself this. What's one question you've always wanted to ask
Ooh,
but haven't?
that's a good one. It could be anything.
Could be anything. It could be about the universe.
Okay.
It could be about a historical event.
Yeah.
It could be something personal.
Right.
But don't hold back.
Ask that question.
Yeah, and now you have the tools to craft it perfectly.
You do.
Go for it.
Because think about it. Every amazing discovery,
Yeah.
every invention, every breakthrough started with a question.
It did. Somebody asked why.
Yeah.
Somebody asked how.
So keep asking those questions.
Keep being curious.
And until next time, happy questioning, everybody.
Yeah. See you later.